The mid-morning rush at Bellamy's Café hummed with energy. Patrons sipped coffee and nibbled on flaky croissants, their conversations weaving a tapestry of sound over the soft jazz playing through the speakers. The Café, a well-known New York establishment, prided itself on its upscale, yet welcoming ambience. Exposed brick walls were lined with delicate pastry displays, and the scent of vanilla and roasted coffee beans drifted through the air like an invitation to indulge. Monica Bennett stepped inside, a poised woman with warm brown skin and a quiet elegance. Her tailored camel-colored coat and pearl earrings reflected her refined taste, but today wasn't about fashion. It was about her daughter. It was little Sophie's birthday, and Monica had gone the extra mile to order a custom cake that would make the celebration even more special. She imagined the joy in Sophie's eyes when she saw the vibrant floral design she had chosen, each petal crafted with care. Monica approached the counter and patiently waited her turn, her receipt in hand. When her turn arrived, she offered a warm smile to the barista behind the counter. "Good morning. I'm here to pick up my order," she said, sliding the receipt forward. The waitress, a young woman with blonde hair tied in a messy bun, barely glanced at the slip before turning to retrieve the order. When she returned, she set a white box on the counter and flipped open the lid. Monica's smile faded. The cake was far from what she had ordered. Instead of the delicate floral arrangement, there were haphazard blobs of icing, and Sophie's name was misspelled. Monica hesitated before speaking. "I believe there's been a mistake," she said gently. "This isn't the design I ordered." The waitress, whose name tag read Heather, let out an exasperated sigh. "It's just a cake. Does it really matter?" Monica blinked, taken aback by the dismissive response. "It does matter. This was meant for my daughter's birthday. I specifically requested a different design." Heather rolled her eyes. "Look, we're busy. Mistakes happen. Maybe next time don't be so picky." A few customers nearby had begun to take notice. The soft hum of conversation quieted as they listened in. Monica kept her composure, but her voice took on a firmer edge. "I understand that mistakes happen, but I paid for a specific design. I'd like it corrected, please." Heather scoffed. "Oh, so now I'm supposed to drop everything just because you're unhappy?" Her voice dripped with condescension. "Some people don't know how to be grateful." The word stung, but Monica refused to let the sting show. "This isn't about gratitude. It's about respect." Heather's patience snapped. With an exaggerated motion, she grabbed the cake box and shoved it forward. The lid flew open, and in an instant, frosting smeared across Monica's pristine coat. Gasps rippled through the café. The room seemed to freeze in time as Monica stood motionless, her hands trembling slightly. Then, the soft chime of the café door opening broke the silence. A tall man in a dark overcoat stepped inside. His commanding presence made heads turn before he even spoke. Daniel Bennett, Monica's husband, was a man who carried authority with every measured step he took. His sharp brown eyes immediately locked onto his wife, the cake smeared across her coat, and the stunned expressions on the faces of the patrons. Monica turned to him, her voice calm but laced with quiet frustration. "Daniel, there was a misunderstanding." Daniel's eyes darkened as he took in the scene. "A misunderstanding," he repeated, his tone smooth but edged with steel. Before Monica could explain further, another customer interjected. "She threw the cake at her," the woman said indignantly. "Completely uncalled for." Daniel turned to Heather, his presence alone making her shrink back. "Is that true?" he asked, his voice measured but authoritative. Heather hesitated, her earlier bravado crumbling under his gaze. "It wasn't. She was just being difficult and I—" Daniel raised a hand, silencing her. "Enough." His voice carried through the café, like a gavel striking a courtroom bench. "You don't humiliate someone for simply asking for what they paid for. Is this how this café treats its customers?" Heather opened her mouth to respond, but the room had already turned against her. The café manager, a wiry man in his late 40s, had just emerged from the back and immediately took in the situation, his face paling. Daniel took a step closer, addressing not just Heather, but the entire café. "Let me introduce myself," he said. "I'm Daniel Bennett. I'm a civil rights attorney, and I have spent—" Years advocating for dignity, justice, and equality. My wife, the woman you just humiliated, deserves far better than the treatment she received today. A murmur ran through the cafe. A man sitting near the window leaned to his companion. That's Daniel Bennett. I've seen him on TV. He's won some major cases. Heather's face turned red as the weight of his words settled over her. The manager, who had stood frozen, suddenly sprang into action. Mr. Bennett, I sincerely apologize for this behavior. This is absolutely unacceptable. Daniel's gaze flicked to the man. Apologies are a start, but this isn't about me or my wife. It's about the standards you set for your employees. If you truly want to make this right, start by ensuring that your staff treats every customer with dignity, regardless of who they are or what they look like. The manager nodded vigorously. You have my word. Heather, step into my office immediately. Heather sputtered, trying to come up with a defense, but the moment had already passed. She was escorted away as the cafe remained silent, all eyes on the Bennetts. After a moment, a quiet clap broke the stillness. One customer started applauding, then another, until the entire cafe erupted in applause. Daniel turned to Monica, his gaze softening. Are you all right? Monica nodded, her poise intact despite the humiliation she had endured. I'm fine. But moments like these make you wonder how often people get away with this kind of behavior when no one speaks up. The manager returned, looking flustered. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, I want to extend my sincerest apologies. Heather has been relieved of her duties effective immediately. Monica offered him a polite but firm nod. I hope you understand that this wasn't just about an apology. It's about ensuring that respect is the standard, not the exception. The manager nodded. We'll do better. I promise. Just then, a young barista stepped forward, holding a small, freshly made cupcake in her hands. Mrs. Bennett, she said, her voice slightly shaky. I just made this. I hope it helps make up for what happened. Happy birthday to your daughter. Monica's expression softened as she accepted the cupcake with a smile. Thank you. That's very kind of you. As she and Daniel stepped out of the cafe, the door closing behind them, Monica looked at the cupcake in her hand. A small but meaningful gesture, proof that kindness still existed even in moments of adversity. Daniel glanced at her, his voice gentle. You handled that with grace, as always. Monica smiled, determination in her eyes. It's not just about us, Daniel. It's about making sure the next person who walks in there doesn't have to fight for basic respect. Behind them, the cafe still buzzed with conversation, but something had shifted. The ripples of change had begun, sparked by one moment of dignity standing tall against injustice.